He's been a powerhouse, a villain, and a master of reinvention. From silent muscle to unstoppable animal, every version of Batista brought a new look, a new attitude, and a new way to shake the entire roster. 1. Deacon Batista. Before the animal ever existed, Batista appeared on WWE television in a role almost no one expected to matter. A silent, suited bodyguard carrying Reverend Devon's metal collection box. He wasn't presented as a future world champion. He was backup muscle, a background figure meant to stand still, stare hard, and protect a preacher who bullied crowds into donations. But even in that limited role, Batista's presence was impossible to miss. The glare, the size, the controlled intensity, he looked like someone waiting for the right storyline to unleash something dangerous. In the ring, this early version of Batista was raw and unpolished. Heavy slams, stiff strikes, and a running power slam worked as his first finisher. A detail many fans overlook: the Batista bomb didn't exist yet. This era was so early that WWE hadn't even trusted him with the move that would define his career. Watching him in those opening months feels like watching a star still trapped inside a character that couldn't contain him. What makes the Deacon Batista era so fascinating isn't the gimmick itself, but what it revealed. WWE was testing him, seeing how he handled the spotlight, how he moved, how audiences reacted to someone who didn't speak but looked like he could end a match with one hand. And even when the storyline got campy, Batista never looked out of place. In fact, he looked too big for it, like someone who didn't belong at the side of a preacher, but at the center of something much bigger. When the partnership with Devon eventually fizzled out, it became clear the act had reached its limit. Batista had proven he could survive TV. Now he needed a role that let him dominate it. And that shift arrived the moment a certain powerful faction came calling. 2. Evolution's enforcer. When Batista re-emerged on Raw alongside Triple H, Ric Flair, and Randy Orton, everything changed. Gone was the quiet bodyguard. He was now the powerhouse of Evolution, the muscle who didn't need long promos because his presence said it all. Standing beside legends sharpened him, and WWE finally let him look dangerous. In the ring, his style leveled up fast. Power moves were cleaner, timing improved, and his spine-busters looked devastating. Most fans miss this. Batista debuted the Batista Bomb during this run as Evolution's signature final blow, giving the faction a weapon it had never had. Once that power bomb landed, it was clear how far he'd come from his Deacon days. This era also boosted his confidence. Mentorship from Flair polished him. Triple H pushed him to be a threat, and Orton kept him improving every week. Evolution wasn't just a faction, it was a machine, and Batista was becoming its most dangerous creation. But his strength didn't come just from alliances. It came from the tension beneath the surface. Every time he watched the World Heavyweight Championship or held the ropes for Triple H, fans felt something building. The enforcer role was temporary. Batista was learning, growing, and the crowd was starting to notice. When he realized he was ready to stand on his own, the WWE landscape flipped overnight. 3. The Animal. The moment Batista stepped out of Evolution's shadow, he didn't just break free, he transformed. This was the birth of the Animal, fueled by fury, independence, and the confidence he'd gained beside Triple H. When he refused to hand over his Royal Rumble win, the crowd erupted, and his famous thumbs down became one of WWE's most replayed betrayals. From that point, he wasn't a follower, he was the threat. In the ring, Batista fought with controlled chaos. Clotheslines hit like demolition charges, spinebusters snapped the arena, and when he landed the Batista Bomb on Triple H at WrestleMania 21, fans saw a superstar fully unleashed. Many forget, his World Heavyweight Championship win that night marked the highest-selling WrestleMania PPV of its era, showing just how massive his rise had become. What made this version special was the balance of power and crowd connection. Batista wasn't a natural talker, but he channeled intensity into short, sharp promos that matched his physical style. Every stalk of the ring, every explosion after punishment, made fans feel the impact. Feuds with Triple H, JBL, and Edge cemented him as unstoppable, pushing him deeper into the identity of the Animal. This wasn't the polished enforcer anymore. It was the Batista who dominated arenas, carried main events, and defined mid-2000s WWE. 4. Ruthless Batista. After solidifying himself as the Animal, Batista's next evolution leaned into a darker, more ruthless edge. No longer just a powerhouse, he became a calculating force, blending sheer strength with an attitude that screamed dominance. This was the version fans remember from the peak of his title reign, a champion who didn't just fight. He dismantled anyone standing in his way. Every entrance carried tension, every stare promised destruction, and every match became a showcase of raw brutality. In this era, Batista's in-ring style grew sharper. Power moves remained central, but he added a psychological layer, targeting rivals' weaknesses and using submission holds and corner attacks to wear them down. Did you know? During his 2005 to 2007 title run, Batista had one of the longest combined World Heavyweight Championship reigns in WWE history, totaling over 500 days across multiple runs. This dominance wasn't just physical, it was narrative, establishing him as a credible threat for any challenger. What set Ruthless Batista apart wasn't just his aggression, but how he commanded attention. Even when facing larger-than-life opponents like John Cena or The Undertaker, Batista's mix of raw power and ruthless intent made him feel unstoppable. Fans could sense that each victory was earned through intimidation and strategic offense, not just brute force. His promos reflected that too, a blend of menace and confidence that drew reactions from every corner of the arena. And while this persona cemented him as a main eventer, it also hinted at the next shift, the Hollywood-inspired version that would test his charisma in a whole new way. Batista had mastered dominance, but WWE was ready to see if he could carry himself as both a star and a villain. And with that, the lights and cameras of Hollywood were about to change everything. 5. Hollywood heel Batista. Batista's next transformation leaned into glitz, arrogance, and a larger-than-life Hollywood persona. No longer just the Animal or the ruthless champion, this version carried himself like a star, turning every entrance into a spectacle. Designer sunglasses, flashy attire, and a slow, deliberate walk to the ring made it clear. This Batista wasn't here to fight fair. He was here to dominate and taunt at the same time. In the ring, Hollywood heel Batista maintained his trademark power, but added a more calculated, taunting style. He baited opponents, flaunted his victories, and emphasized the spectacle of his dominance. Many fans may not know, this era introduced Batista's custom entrance theme and video package that mimicked movie trailers, cementing the star image and giving WWE a fresh marketing angle for their top heel. Suddenly, he was a character fans loved to hate, a star whose presence demanded attention both inside and outside the squared circle. This version also leaned into feuds that highlighted his arrogance. Rivalries with Undertaker, Triple H, and John Cena weren't just about winning. They were about humiliating opponents, controlling the narrative, and proving he could command the spotlight on his own terms. Batista's promos became sharper, his mic presence improved, and the Hollywood persona gave him a more cinematic, story-driven edge. Fans saw a champion who could dominate physically while captivating audiences emotionally. Even in defeat, this Batista felt larger than life. Every loss reinforced his menace, every victory reinforced his superiority. And while the Animal in him was still very much alive, the Hollywood heel era proved that Batista could carry a storyline, sell a match, and captivate fans in a way that went beyond pure brute force. And after Hollywood's spotlight dimmed, Batista faced the next chapter, stepping away from wrestling to test himself in the real world of MMA and semi-retirement. 6. MMA/semi-retirement Batista. After dominating WWE as Hollywood heel Batista, Dave Batista surprised fans by stepping away from the ring to focus on life outside wrestling. This era wasn't about flashy entrances or finishers. It was about testing himself physically and mentally. Batista trained in MMA, explored acting, and scaled back his in-ring schedule, entering what fans call his semi-retirement phase. While WWE remained a presence, his focus shifted to personal growth and reinvention. His appearances were sporadic, but his reputation carried weight. Matches became major events because every move still reminded fans of the Animal's power. Did you know? In 2010, Batista made his UFC-style MMA training public, showing dedication to combat skills beyond wrestling, a rarity for WWE stars of his era. One glance or signature move was enough to prove he remained a force. This period also showcased his versatility. Stepping away allowed him to evolve as a performer and eventually lay the foundation for his acting career, while WWE fans watched closely, wondering when or if he'd return. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into every version of Batista, be sure to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date with all our wrestling history breakdowns. As rumors swirled, Batista quietly prepared for a comeback that would redefine his legacy once again. 7. Batista in 2014 return. Batista's 2014 return shocked fans for more reasons than one. After years away from full-time wrestling, he reappeared at the Royal Rumble, but this time with a surprising twist, a blue-colored, almost mystical version of the animal that fans jokingly dubbed Batista. The new look wasn't just cosmetic. It symbolized a wrestler experimenting, testing whether he could still command the ring and the crowd after time off. The commentary on his color choice and striking attire only amplified the buzz. Fans were divided between fascination and playful ridicule. In the ring, this version leaned heavily on power and psychology. Moves like the Batista Bomb returned as career-defining weapons, but now he combined them with a seasoned understanding of timing and crowd control. Batista no longer needed to over-explain his dominance. His presence alone made the match feel monumental. Fun fact, Batista eliminated a record 7 superstars in his 2014 Royal Rumble appearance, tying a historic mark and proving he could still make an immediate impact despite years away. But beyond the theatrics, the 2014 return was a statement. It wasn't just about nostalgia. It was Batista proving he could still thrive in the modern WWE landscape. Feuds with wrestlers like Randy Orton and The Authority highlighted that even after years in Hollywood, the animal inside him remained relentless and intimidating. This era also reminded fans that Batista could evolve on his own terms. While Batista might not have become a permanent identity, it bridged the gap between his semi-retirement and his final run, setting the stage for a version of Batista that combined raw power, veteran savvy, and a desire to leave a lasting legacy. And as 2014 faded, it became clear the animal had one last chapter to write, a return that would cement his career as one of WWE's most enduring forces. 8. Final run, The Last Animal. Batista's final WWE run wasn't about reinvention or experimentation. It was about reminding fans why he earned the nickname The Animal. Returning to the ring full-time, he combined everything he had learned from every previous era. The raw power of Deacon Batista, the intensity of Evolution's Enforcer, the dominance of Ruthless Batista, and the showmanship of Hollywood Heel. Every match felt like a culmination of his career, a showcase of a performer who had mastered both the art and the spectacle of wrestling. In this era, Batista's moveset was sharper than ever. The Batista Bomb returned as his ultimate statement, but he mixed in devastating corner attacks and methodical strikes that made even smaller opponents seem outmatched. Did you know? During his 2014 to 2015 run, Batista main evented WrestleMania 31 against Triple H and Seth Rollins in a triple threat that drew massive mainstream attention, solidifying his final chapter as a top-tier attraction. It was a perfect bookend, facing the man who had once mentored him and the rising stars he had inspired, showing that the animal had learned to survive any era. What made this version of Batista so memorable wasn't just the in-ring action, it was the story. A wrestler who had walked away, returned, and dominated again, proving that even after time, change, and Hollywood, the essence of the animal was unstoppable. Fans cheered, debated, and relived every iconic moment from his past, as Batista reminded everyone why he was a main event superstar. Out of all these versions, from silent enforcer to Hollywood star, which Batista do you think defined his career? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into wrestling's biggest transformations.